Okay, so today is a very special day. It's called Purim Katan. It's called the small Purim. Now, the interesting is, like, what do you mean the small Purim, right? Why doesn't it say not the right Purim? Because Purim is next month, and we know in this month we add an extra month because this year is what? Leap year, right? It's an extra Adar, so it's a leap year. What is a leap year? Who remembers what a leap year is? A leap year is when there's two Adars. Why is there two Adars? Because the sun calendar goes quicker than the moon calendar, because the moon calendar only has 28 and a half days, and the sun calendar has, 29 and a half or 29 3/4 or something like that? I can't remember the exact amount, but because the sun calendar, the solar calendar, goes a lot quicker, what would happen if we didn't have an extra month 7 times in 19 years? What would happen?
We would get an extra month.
No, we would go backwards, and we would have Pesach in the winter, right? And then we would have Purim in the fall. It would be kind of strange. So that's why in the Jewish calendar, the lunar calendar, we add one extra month. So because if it was a regular year, today would be Purim. It would be Purim. So that's why it's called Purim Katan. And especially today. Today is a special day because it's Tuesday. And what's Tuesday? Tuesday is Pamayim Kitov. Very good. Double Kitov. God said when He created the world, on the third day He said, Kitov twice. It is good twice. That means that Monday He didn't say it was good because God created the firmament, meaning a split between the heavens and the earth. But the third day, what did God create? The flowers, grass, and trees. So that means that God said that therefore, now it's going to be an earth. I'm going to double my Kitov today instead of having Kitov yesterday. So Tuesday. Besides the point, tonight is already the 15th. So that means that we're starting what?
New month.
Not new month.
New moon.
Right? We start a new moon.
Moon.
No, not a new moon. The moon is
full.
Full. Just the opposite. The moon is complete. It's called Shleimus HaChodesh. The complete month. The whole month is complete already. Right? Because Adar, this month, the completion of this month is tonight. So we see that it's even greater. So we understand that what is called small in Judaism? There's a lot of things that you call small. Yaakov was called small. Who's Yaakov? Our third patriarch. Jacob. He was called small. It says Yaakov hua Katan. He is the smaller one. Means he was the younger brother. Even though he was the younger brother, he turned out to be the better brother. The same thing with King David. Do you know the story of King David? David wasn't supposed to be king because he was the youngest, and he was completely, there's a whole story about King David, how when Samuel came to anoint King David, he first started with the oldest brother. By the time he got to David, they all said, David's a young kid, he's a redhead, he's not so popular, he's very small. Why would you want him to be anything for you? So, then they anointed King David, although he was the youngest and the smallest. He was not like the first king. The first king, Saul, was very, very tall and beautiful. And it's interesting to note that small doesn't necessarily mean bad. Sometimes small can be good. Why do we know the story? On the fourth day of creation, God created what? The sun, the moon, and the stars. Do you know that the sun and the moon were exactly the same size when they were created? Do you know that? What happened? The moon was saying, why do we need 2 big lights? And so God said, okay, if you don't want the 2 big lights, let me make you
Small one.
Small one. So He made the moon the smaller one. And what's going to happen when Mashiach comes with the moon? He's going to be the same size as the sun. And on the one hand, the moon, even though he gets smaller every month and then gets bigger every month, he's just like the Jewish people. What happens to the Jewish people? They go through cycles. Up and down, up and down, up and down. First they're really great, and then they have a lot of problems. And then they're really great, and then they have a lot of problems. This is the cycle of the Jewish nation. The Jewish nation actually does have a very, very interesting cycle, because they are growing big, and then it says that sometimes you have to remember that the Jews are not the biggest nation. It says, Atem hama'at mikol ha'amim. You are the what? The smallest. You are the littlest. You're the smallest nation, but yet we hear everything about the Jews all the time. God wanted to show us something about making the Jewish people small. He was basically showing us about the word bittul. Bittul means nullification. I don't have to show off to be great. I don't have to be a great, wonderful person and show everybody who I am to be great. I can be great just by walking humbly. I can be great. So it says, Shavisi Hashem lenegdi samid. I always have to see that God is in front of me. Why tamid? Tamid means all the time. All the time. And then it says, Tamim tiyam Hashem elkacha. You should walk humbly with God. So it's very important that we are humble. And if we are humble, we'll show you a little bit later that it does bring to happiness and joy. In this parsha, the portion of the week, it's the portion of Kitisa, okay, according to Sephardic, Kitisa. So in the parsha Kitisa, the first thing that it says is, I will elevate. God says he will elevate the Jewish people. How? By bringing a half a shekel, by bringing a half a coin. How could we be elevated by a half a coin? Wouldn't you think we would elevate it by giving a whole coin? Why a half a coin?
It's smaller.
Okay, maybe it's smaller, but what's the idea of half?
So half and half.
Half and half. Half of who? Half of one Jew is half of another Jew. In other words, that we both of us, Jews, become whole. We don't become whole only by ourselves. We become whole by connecting to others. Same thing, half a shekel could be, I'm the half a shekel and God is the other half. We become whole when we connect to God. When we connect to another Jew and when we connect to God, that's when we become whole. And that's why it says kitisa, elevate. God is elevating us. How? By us becoming whole. Okay, so humility is really leading to something greater than we understand. So when you do something, don't be upset if you don't finish it. The idea that you did it is good enough. Because if you decide that you need to finish it and no one else can finish it, forget it. Maybe it's not going to be finished. Don't make yourself feel bad because you didn't finish it. Try your best, and God will help you finish the rest, or someone else might finish the rest. But it's not necessary for you to finish everything that you started. Because we need to have humility. If it's not going to get done, it's not going to get done. But at least I tried, and at least I did the best I can. Shh. Okay, so now the question is, what things are difficult for us and make us not completely whole and make us that we're not katan, we're not small? What are the things? An example would be when I predict something. What do we do when we start predicting things in our lives?
We call on them.
We overblow them.
Overblow.
We make it like you say, I'll never finish it. I cannot handle it. It's too difficult for me. That's a prediction. I'm predicting what's going to happen if I do something and I can't do it. I mean, those are the predictions that we have. There's so many stories of people that say, I think I can. For me, the thing that reminds me of I think I can, the first thing I remember is when I was a little kid, there was a book with a little train. And do you remember that book? So a little train, and the little train would go up on top of a mountain. And as he's going up the mountain, he goes, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And he got up there. So when we put predictions that we can't, we won't be able to. But if we predict that we can, then we will be humble. In other words, if we're humble, then we will say, I can. I can, I can, I can. I can do it. Okay. The other thing is gratification for the moment. If a person wins a lottery, do you think that's a good thing?
No, he or she wants more.
He or she wants more, or everybody around you hates you now because you won the lottery. How come you're not giving me a little piece of it? How come you're not giving me a little piece of it? It leads to a lot of problems. So I heard the statistics, I heard this a long time ago about what is more difficult, to break your leg or to win the lottery?
Lottery.
Right, to win the lottery. Right, isn't that interesting? Like breaking your leg, you hurt, you can't walk, it's hard, you can go crazy, right? But everything will be okay after a while. But winning a lottery, what happens?
Turns your life
It
upside
turns
down.
your life upside down. It gives you so many problems that you never even imagined that you can deal with those problems.
I have a question about Purim Katan.
Yes.
Is it like the dates are in the Bible, like it's a biblical thing, or it's like a man-made
No,
time
it should
thing?
have been. In other words, it's actually made by the rabbis later, but it should have been Purim that day. But because the rabbis understood
I
the
mean
calendar,
leap year, not Purim. Like
the leap year
yeah.
was instituted by the rabbis
Okay.
to be able to figure out, but it was given through the Gemara, through
Okay.
the Talmud. So that means it was given from father to son, or from rabbi to student, going back to Moses. So it is Torah Sheba'al
Oh, okay.
Peh. It
Okay,
is the
okay.
oral Torah. So it's not something that was made up completely. It was given down, but it was written down later.
Okay.
And it was calculated properly later. too.
Okay.
Okay. So the next thing is choosing. When we have too many choices, what happens? What happens when you have too many choices?
It's hard to choose.
You get overwhelmed. It's too much, right? It's too much to deal with. Also, a lot of times when you have choices, you kind of get jealous of the other person. I mean, which thing are you going to choose? It's, it's just complicated sometimes. Or if we say that let's choose between this and this, sometimes we could make very bad choices and really hurt other people. So if we have too many choices, like nowadays, what's the big problem with the choices? First of all, the kids, when they choose to take drugs or do bad things, then their choices, right, they have a horrible life, that they don't realize it, because you know why? For the moment, it's gratification. You feel good for that moment. But it's only gratification for the moment. It's the same kind of gratification that we talked about when somebody wins the lottery. It's the same thing. Because you're happy for the moment, but then what happens after you've taken the drugs? You want more drugs, and you can never finish it because then you're unhappy. And you get depressed, you take more drugs. And then you get more depressed, you take more drugs. So it's something that's very instant gratification. The same thing that we see now with the choice of pro-life or abortion. Do you know this choice? This choice is really killing children. Look what happened in New York with this choice.
It's disgusting.
In New York, they said you can kill the baby even the minute before it's born. Like, why did somebody vote
right
for that?
after even.
Even after?
Yeah, like birth and then
Really?
Yeah, that's what I heard on the radio.
That's horrible. Anyhow, whatever the case is, that's what I call when you have too many choices, you always choose the wrong kind of choices. Okay, so the more you choose, the more it becomes a habit. So each time you choose, it's habitual. It's very hard to make a change. Once you've started doing something over and over, it becomes a habit. Like, let's say a person is angry. If you keep getting angry every time something happens, You're always going to get angrier and angrier and angrier because you're making the choice to be angry. But if you choose to be happy, you're going to continue to be happier and happier and happier as you go along. So it's all about habitual things. So if a person has humility, and he is like a katan, like a small one, right? We said that's a person with humility. What does he do? What's the first thing that comes to your mind if you have humility? You give of yourself to others. That's the first thing that comes in your mind. The first thing is giving to others, including having good relationships with other people. Also it says, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Love your fellow as yourself. First of all, we have to love ourselves. And if we feel good about ourselves in the right way, not showing off, but we feel humility, we feel good about ourselves, then we can help other people and feel good about other people too. Also, one of the other things to have humility is to forgive other people. Not to keep, guys, please be quiet. Not to give other people, to forgive other people, and also not only to forgive others, but to forgive yourself too. Because sometimes we have a hard time forgiving ourselves when we do something wrong. And that we have to remember, that you need to be strong in yourself and care about yourself too, because otherwise you can't give to other people. It doesn't work both ways. The most important thing is to let go of the grudges, because that'll make you feel much better. There's a prayer at night that you say, God, please forgive me for everybody who hurt me. What does that mean? Forgive the people that did bad things to me. In other words, you still have that grudge within yourself. You have to let that grudge go. You have to leave it alone and forgive everyone that's around you. Because a lot of times we're holding things, it hurts you more than anything else. And this is the hard thing.
What about some things that are like unforgivable?
What does it mean? Okay, you could forgive the person, but you don't have to forget.
No, I mean something like truly awful.
Like what?
Like, God forbid, somebody like murdered your child or something.
Okay, the fact that they murdered your child is very wrong. But you need to look at it and say, my child was supposed to die anyway. The person who killed that child is 100% wrong. So in other words, it was meant to be, but at the same time, that person is bad. So don't take it personal, like they did it to you. That person is bad, 100% that person is bad, 1,000%. You can't, in other words, forgive, but don't forget. In other words, that person needs to be punished for what they did.
Yeah.
But you need to forgive that person for not to connect to that person. Because if you connect to that person anymore, what happens is that you're angry. You need to accept that this is what happened, but that person is bad. So you need it like separated from yourself.
Yeah, I just feel like most people won't react that way.
No, 100%. It's very hard to react that way.
Their religious do react this way.
Hopefully, yes.
No, yeah.
We should.
In Israel, they do.
Yeah. But my point is that, let's say, a Palestinian came and blew up a bus, God forbid, okay? And the parent of a child that was there, they should be upset that this person did it. But the fact that their child died is not because of that person. That child died because he was supposed to die anyway that day.
I understand that, but to like not want revenge
It's
is
very
like
hard. It's very hard.
It's supposed to die anyway.
Okay, every person has a certain amount of days and a certain amount of hours that they're supposed to live. Okay? Every person has a destiny, what's supposed to happen to them. And they're born with that destiny. Now, of course that could change. Of course, that could be, a person can get an extra soul if they do something special to make that person live longer. But that was the destiny of that person to pass away that day. The question was, the person who did it is 100% wrong. Because they shouldn't have been doing that. That was their choice, that they chose bad.
And by extra soul, you don't mean like a completely extra soul.
You are definitely the same person. You have your soul, but your soul is only supposed to stay for X amount of time.
Yeah, so when you say...
I'll give you an example. Yitzchak, who was Isaac, until the Akedah, he had a soul. Actually, he had a soul of a woman. He had a feminine soul. Isaac, yes. When he had the Akedah happen to him, he received a masculine soul at that point. And so therefore he was ready to get married. So I'm saying there's things like that that do happen. So in other words, he received an extra masculine soul above his own soul. Not the other soul went away.
Okay.
It just received an extra soul because he was supposed to continue to live. But
not like extra soul, but like extra soul matter.
But what does an extra soul mean? It's spiritual.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're giving somebody some kind of personality of a person. You're not giving them a personality. You're giving them a different energy.
Okay.
Okay? It's not like you're thinking, because how could it be a person is two people?
Yeah.
No, they're one person, and they're getting extra energy to continue to live.
Okay.
Okay, but that's another class. Okay, we're going off subject completely. Okay, so let's go back to this idea of, so faith, we went through that just now, actually, by mistake. And also the other thing is be in the moment. In other words, whatever happens to you, be in that specific moment. Don't think about what's going to happen in the future, and don't think about your past. Because if you want to be wholesome, and you want to be Katan, you want to be this kind of wholesome kind of a person, you need to stay in the moment. Because if we think and we worry about tomorrow, we can go crazy. And if we think about the past, what happened to us, we also get upset. Oh my God, this is what happened to me. How could it happen to me? So it's much easier for us to try to focus on where I am right now and what do I need to accomplish at this moment. There's a story of the Rebbe, of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, that one time when, this was right before, 1990, before the wall came down in Russia. So the Rebbe was given somebody to go to Russia to speak to a group of dissidents. And when this guy came back, the Rebbe met him, and the guy brought back with him notes from these dissidents to the Rebbe. Like it's called a pan, a pinyud nefesh. In other words, it's for some to say to the Rebbe what's going on in their life and to ask for a blessing from the Rebbe. So the Rebbe read every single note. And this guy said that the Rebbe stayed up till like 5 in the morning reading these notes, and he was sitting with him. And when the sun rose, the Rebbe said, Ach, anayatug. Oh, a new day has come. In other words, whatever I did yesterday. Now it's a new day. Now I have to do something else. So in other words, he wasn't satisfied with going through all these things and giving these people blessings. He says, tomorrow I'm going to do something more. In other words, every moment we need to think, what can I do this moment to make my life better? Not what happened yesterday, not what's going to happen tomorrow, but this moment, what can I do to make my life better? Okay. What? Okay, so think about this, about humility. The person that I think of about humility is Miriam. Miriam is the sister of Moses. Miriam was in the desert, and what happened? She spoke something not so nice about her brother. Her brother's wife. Right. Her brother's wife. Or no, it was really about her brother that she spoke not nice. She felt bad for her brother's wife.
What'd she say?
She said that, she doesn't have her husband a lot. He's always busy. He's always, with God. She's by herself, this and that. And so God went and gave her tzarat, and gave her leprosy. The Jewish people, instead of continuing to travel, what did the Jewish people do?
They make 7-day break.
For 7 days they made a break, and they waited for Miriam because they appreciated who she was as a woman, and that she was somebody who they respected. That even though she did something wrong, she said, I'm sorry that I did it, and everybody knew that she had leprosy, and she went on with her life. In other words, what we need to do is, if something goes wrong, we need to recognize it, say I'm sorry, and then continue on. In other words, not to delve and not to drive yourself crazy over something that happened already, or to drive yourself crazy over something that will happen in the future.
Say sorry to yourself.
No, if you hurt somebody else,
To someone.
you say sorry and you go on with your life. You don't stay stuck in the problem. You always, if you do something wrong, just say sorry, think about it, understand what you did wrong, and continue on with your life.
Let's say you hit someone with your car. You say sorry and continue with your life.
No, you say sorry and you deal with insurance or whatever else has to be dealt with, and then you go on. You don't stay stuck with the problem. You understand? You deal with it. Obviously, you have to deal with the problem. Not just say sorry and forget about everything. Of course you deal with it, but you have to go on with your life. You can't be stuck and be upset all day because you hit someone's car. Yeah, well, that's the point. That's practice, practice, practice. Get it out of your mind. It's not easy. It's all about habit. And what's habit? All of us have choices. We can choose to have humility, to be tamim, to be that katan, or we can choose not to.
So one of my questions has been like, how do you have like actual true humility?
True humility basically means, if we look at Moses, he was the most humble person. But we understand that Moses was so great. How could he be humble, right? Because Moses understood who he was. He understood his talents. But yet he felt that another person with my talents and in my place could have done more.
Okay, sure. Like, I know people can do more than me, but for
No.
example,
But for you, you have talents. You need to utilize your talents.
Yeah.
And not say to yourself, I don't have talents.
No, I was
That's not
thinking, like,
humility.
in a sense of, for example, like, this happens to me sometimes. I give a homeless person, like, $1, and then I'm like, oh, I'm a good person. Like, how do you
That's okay.
not have
That's okay.
that? That's not
But that's okay to
pure.
say, no, it's okay to say I'm a good person because I gave him $1. But you can also, but then you can do more.
Yeah.
In other words, if you say to yourself at that moment, yes, I'm a good person because I gave him $1, and you feel good about it, that's okay. But in other words, you can't continue on thinking to yourself, I don't need to do anything tomorrow.
Yeah, okay.
Because I did it yesterday and I gave the $1 yesterday. See? So you need to continue doing it.
So tomorrow, $1.50. And just like
Or
more and more.
whatever. It doesn't, whatever it is. In other words, you have to say to yourself, yes, I did something nice, and I'm in a good mood for it. That's fine. I connected to somebody. I feel good. But now, tomorrow, I'll do something else.
Okay.
So that's what the Rebbe meant by anaya tug. Oh, it's a new day. In other words, I've done something. I read all these letters. I've given the blessings for these people. But tomorrow, now I have to do something else because it's a new day.
Okay.
Okay, so then what are the different traits that we have? First is the inborn traits, right? What you're born with. You have genetics. Then there's the parents' disposition, like who your parents are and how they act to you. Then there's the things that we learn from friends. Then there's a spiritual inheritance. What's the spiritual inheritance? That we receive from who?
From our spiritual
From Abraham,
family.
Yitzchak, and Yaakov. What we got
Okay.
from our forefathers. What did we get? We got certain traits that Jewish people have. And what are those traits? Do you know?
Smart.
Being kind. Smart is another story. Being kind to people. That's one of the traits that we get. Rachmanis, having rachmanis on people, feeling mercy for people. Okay, not pity, because pity is a bad word. Mercy for people. And also a little more shy. Jews supposed to be more shy. Not supposed to be like some Jews, I wouldn't say. No, not about an ego. It's not being too rash, like walking down the street and thinking you own the world. I mean, it's a little too rash. Anyhow.
What about like our people we're named after? We get anything from them?
Well, that's again genetics.
Oh, okay.
So you have the genetics.
Oh, okay.
You have talking about spirituality. Yes, you can get that stuff from your grandparents that were in your family too. The spiritual part of that and the physical part of that.
Or like, what about you named your son Menachem Mendel?
Right.
He has something from him?
Well, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
That's why I name it, because I'm hoping that my child will emulate whatever name he has. They have a choice. They can emulate it or not, but they have that capacity of emulating certain things.
Okay.
So talking about this idea of Tamim, which basically we're talking about Katan, small, humility, being one with God, being one with everybody else, takes a lot of very strong precedence when we talk about the Geula, when we talk about redemption. Because, first of all, it's our personal responsibility to tell people, yes, there's going to be a redemption. By doing what? By learning Torah and doing mitzvot. Right? Number two, living reality that Mashiach is already here. In other words, how do we live that kind of reality? How do we live that kind of reality? We think differently. We start living a geula, a redemptive way. What's a redemptive way to live?
Consciously.
Consciously, right. Positively, always being happy. Always finding something to be thankful for and to be grateful for and to be happy for. And stop worrying about money or physical things. Start worrying more about spiritual things. Start living a different type of a life. And especially try to help other people. Why? Because it says, Gedola tzedakah shemikaveres hagula. Great is charity that brings what? The redemption. Because by giving charity, we're also bringing redemption closer. Every time you give tzedakah, you're bringing it closer too. Closer to redemption. The redemption gets closer by giving tzedakah. When we give a little bit of tzedakah, we're always bringing God, the redemption is closer. Because whatever we do, we're bringing it closer.
But sometimes when you do something good for someone, you're emptying yourself.
You're what?
Emptying yourself.
When you give to someone, you're emptying yourself. That's actually a mistake. You know why? Because when you're giving to others, you should add more to yourself at that point.
It's not working
It usually does. When you're giving to others, you're feeling different about yourself. So how could you empty yourself?
You're helping someone, but at the same time you're understanding that people will.
Well, you need boundaries too.
You need to figure out how to help the person too. If you're helping someone that it is not helpable, then don't help them. But if you see,
you have to, for example, if it's your relatives, parents, or someone.
So now the question is, if you're helping them, it's not leading to anything. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, you're observing that they're going away, and anyway, even you're helping, and it's emptying yourself physically.
What are you losing by helping another person? What are you losing?
Hope.
Hope for what?
For what that it would help them. I don't know.
Well, you have to figure out.
To get well.
But you have to figure out how much you need to help, to what extent you need to help. It doesn't empty yourself when you help someone else. It actually brings joy to yourself that you're helping another person.
Yeah, but you don't see the result of it because it doesn't help them to get better. I mean,
No, it doesn't. The person doesn't have to get better by you helping them. By you helping them, they feel that you care about them. So it's not emptying you. At least they understand and they give back that feeling. Depends on how you look at it. If you're looking at it, I'm helping someone because I want to get something from it, you're not going to get anything from it. But if you're looking at it that I'm helping somebody because they need the help, and it's important for me to do that, that's different. Then you're not emptying yourself. I think it's a matter of how you look at it. Maybe that's what it is. If you have to look at it that I'm giving them and nothing's helping, then of course it's not going to help. But if you look at it that whatever I do, even if it doesn't look like it's helping, it's definitely making them feel happier. So then you gain something out of it in that way. Okay, so basically what we need to do, we're going back to preparing yourself for the Geula, for the redemption. We have to live above nature, not in nature like we've been doing up to now. What does it mean to live above nature? To expect that something's going to happen more than I expected it to happen. Good. That's living, right, good, of course good. More than I expected, that's living above nature. And especially women, that they have, women have more of a feeling for something greater than themselves. They can access this redemption a lot quicker. Whereas we do see, the interesting thing is we do see that now. I was just on this app and all of a sudden somebody posted something and I went on this website and I found out that people all over, women all over the whole world are preparing for the redemption. And it was shocking to me because before I thought it was just Chabad that was doing it. But now I just see, I went on this thing and people from every part of the world next week, they're doing this special event called the Redemption. Bringing closer the redemption. They're going to have singing and dancing and speaking and eating and all this stuff, which is very, very interesting to me. Why is it fascinating to me? Because the Lubavitcher Rebbe has been talking about this for so long that we're like, and he always said that the women are going to be the ones to start. And us women are actually starting it already. It doesn't matter who they are. It's like all over the world they're starting. So I decided that next week I'm just going to make something a little bit more extravagant. Yeah, and do something also so that we can have like singing a little bit and dancing a little bit and having something a little more than what we had up to now.
And about redemption, like, I know that Jews who are religious and keeping everything, like, obviously are going to, like, is every Jew on every level?
Every Jew on every level. It has nothing to do with being religious or not religious.
Okay.
It says actually that in Egypt, only the people that were righteous left Egypt. But it says that when Mashiach comes, every man, woman, and child will go to the redemption, will be involved in the redemption. It doesn't matter who you are. It's not going to be like only 1/5 left.
Okay.
Everybody, the whole world.
Not every Jew.
Even non-Jews. Well, it doesn't matter.
Oh.
The Rebbe always says that's why you need to teach non-Jews 7 Noahide laws. Because the righteous non-Jews will come, will join everybody for redemption too.
Oh, so the righteous non-Jews,
yes.
not all non-Jews.
Well, it can't be all non-Jews because some people are, like, whatever. I mean, they do really bad stuff.
Comes, he'll determine also
who's righteous,
who's Jewish, who's righteous. It'll be more clear. There's
It'll be
a lot
clearer
of
than
Jewish
now.
people that we don't even know about them.
Oh yeah, they think
don't know
that.
They don't
yeah.
even know that they're Jewish themselves.
And they don't know that they're Jewish.